Thank you for joining us for this web presentation of installation tips for Electrolux and Wascomat solid mount front load washers, presented by Laundrylux. Many of us already fully understand the importance of a properly planned and implemented installation, and how that can profoundly affect a customer's experience with our products. We also know that a customer's ownership experience has a major influence on their future purchase decisions. Let's explore the do's and don'ts of solid mount washer installation together.
We've all heard the sales slogan, location, location, location. Our after-sales slogan is installation, installation, installation. The quality of a front-load washer's installation profoundly impacts the reliability and longevity of the product, both of which have an undeniable influence on the customer's future purchase decisions and on the product recommendations that they make to others. Experience shows that the vast majority of failures in the first 6 months are the result of improper installation. We once received a call from a customer who decided to install his brand new solid mount washers himself. The machines malfunctioned. The customer demanded that we send a certified factory representative to his facility to determine what went wrong during the manufacture of the machines and to make the needed repairs. Even though the machines were installed atop a filing cabinet lying on its side, the customer was unwilling to accept that the damage to the machines was caused by improper installation. The moral is that there's generally only one chance to get it right.
A basic understanding of the forces exerted on a foundation by a machine helps us to determine the suitability of a particular installation plan. The static and dynamic loading data for each washer model can be found in the product's installation manual. The floor load at maximum extraction has two components. The static load is the weight of the machine and its contents, including water, when fully loaded, and is measured in pounds of force. The dynamic load is the pushing down and pulling up part of the load that is capable of causing the underlying floor and the machine to vibrate and fail. It results from the machine extracting an unbalanced load. A perfectly balanced load results in zero dynamic force. The frequency of the dynamic load is measured in hertz. It is the number of times that the dynamic load force cycles, that is, pushes down, then pulls up, on the foundation in 1 second, at the highest extraction speed of the product. The load data can be used by engineers and architects to predict the effect that a machine will have on a particular building when installed on upper floors. With a basic understanding of the forces acting on the underlying surface, let's now look at the factors that must be considered when planning installation. The thickness and condition of the underlying concrete floor must both be known. If necessary, drill 2 or more test holes to investigate the foundation. The foundation must be at least 8 inches thick, fabricated from minimum 3,000 psi concrete, and must be free of cracks and other signs of deterioration. Next, consider what lies beneath the floor. On a ground floor slab, the concrete is generally well supported by compacted earth or sand, and if the floor meets the other requirements stated in the machine's installation manual, vibration should not occur. On the other hand, when installing on a building's upper floor, an engineering study of the structure, considering the machine's static and dynamic loading data, must be undertaken before a decision to proceed with installation can be made. This is true even for so-called soft mount machines that have an integral spring and shock absorber suspension system. Remember that the use of a steel base to raise the height of the machine increases the floor loading, requiring a thicker foundation. In summary, drill test holes to characterize the existing floor. Consult with an experienced architect or engineer when dealing with unusual installation circumstances, and remember to observe the recommended side and rear clearance distances to make servicing the product as easy as possible. When a foundation does not meet the requirements in the installation manual, it is necessary to break up the existing floor and pour a new foundation that is at least 8 inches thick. Bevel the lower edges of the new foundation outward under the existing floor to form a wedge on each side of the new foundation. This geometry is very effective at preventing vibration. A concrete pad poured atop the existing floor is never suitable and will likely result in disaster. Although an 8-inch thick, 4-foot by 3-foot concrete slab weighs about 3,000 pounds, the dynamic component of the load, this is the plus-minus part of the force on the foundation, is sufficient not only to make the machine vibrate, but quite possibly fall over. Properly anchoring a machine to the foundation is critical. Use 5/8 inch chemical epoxy anchors for all main anchoring points. Carefully follow the fastener manufacturer's installation instructions. Popular brands of anchors of this type are Hilti, Quikrete, Redhead, and Loctite. All are equally effective. A properly installed 5/8 inch epoxy anchor has a pull-out strength of between 6,000 and 7,000 pounds. That's each anchor. Compare this to the dynamic force of the machine, which is spread over 4 bolts, and it's clear that a properly installed anchor will never pull out of the floor during machine operation. Of course, casting J-bolts or using prefabricated bolt frames set directly into a newly poured foundation is also perfectly acceptable. 10mm wedge or expansion anchors are supplied with 200G equipment for the front 2 anchor points. If desired, these can be installed after the machine is set in place, using the machine's base pan as a template. These anchors are crucial for dampening cabinet vibration on 200G machines and on the 330-liter normal spin model. They're also used on all soft mount machines. Refer to the specific model's installation instructions to determine if these bolts are required. The main anchor points are inside the legs of the frame on normal spin and super spin models. On extra spin solid mount models, these bolts run along the outside of rails at the base of the product. Use a box end ratcheting wrench to reach and tighten the nuts on these anchors. The base pan anchors are installed in front of the main frame legs. Refer to the installation manual for the location of these bolt holes, or use the machine as a drilling template. Before applying anchor hardware, it's important to properly shim the machine at each of the mounting bolts to fill any space between the frame and an uneven foundation. A stack of flat washers, though easy to come by, is a poor shimming method and should be avoided. The washers don't provide sufficient support for the frame at the anchor locations, leading to flexing of the frame and cabinet vibration. Flat stock shims are commercially available in various thicknesses and should be used in combination to completely eliminate gaps between the foundation and the frame of the machine. At each of the 4 main bolt locations, there is an L-shaped bracket inside the frame of the washer, to which the cabinet is attached. Shimming from inside can leave the outer edge of this L bracket unsupported or cantilevered, resulting in cabinet vibration. Shimming from outside properly supports the L brackets. If necessary, insert the shims from inside and then shift them around so that the closed portion is on the outside. Always use proper hardware to secure machines. A hex nut and a flat washer are not sufficient and will loosen over time due to heating and cooling and vibration. A hex nut and a lock washer, though a step in the right direction, will result in concentrated and uneven forces on the small lock washer, possibly causing it to open or distort and risking loosening of the fastener. Thin flat washers should also be avoided, as they can flex and wear over time. Proper anchoring that will never need retightening includes a thick flat washer, a lock washer and hex nut, or a thick flat washer and a lock nut. Main anchor points should be tightened to approximately 80 foot-pounds, though it isn't necessary to use a torque wrench on the anchor bolts. Be sure to take up all the clearance and completely flatten any lock washers that are used. This is an example of a poorly executed bolt down. The thin flat washers that have been used to shim the machine leave its base cantilevered. This can result in cabinet vibration. A thin flat washer and regular hex nut have been used to secure the machine. This hardware combination will loosen over time, resulting in machine vibration and failure. On the other hand, a proper installation includes flat shim stock that supports the machine to its outer edge. A heavy-duty flat washer and lock nut are then applied and tightened to securely and permanently fasten the machine to the foundation. When installing a machine on a steel base, the base is fastened to the foundation in the same way as if the machine were being bolted directly. The machine is then fastened to the steel base using 5/8 inch hardware, including heavy-duty flat washers under the bolt head and the lock nut. Our final slide discusses important considerations when fabricating your own steel bases for washers. Use 1/4 inch plate steel to construct your base. Line weld all joints, as spot welds can crack when a base flexes. Avoid using channel or I-beams, as they have beveled inside surfaces that can give the mounting hardware spring-like characteristics. Weld 1/4 inch gussets near all main bolt holes to translate vertical forces from the top rail of the base directly to the bottom rail. Foundation mounting holes in the bottom rail should be directly below the machine mounting holes in the top rail, with an extra hole in the bottom rail on the opposite side of each gusset, so that the bottom rail can be secured in 2 places for each top rail bolt. Remember that using a base to raise the machine increases the load on the foundation bolts and on the underlying concrete foundation. Thank you for your attention during this presentation. Contact Laundrylux Technical Support at 516-371-0700 with your installation and service questions.